Skara Brae, Skara Brae, is a stone-built Neolithic settlement, located on the Bay of Skaill on the west coast of Mainland, the largest island in the Orkney archipelago of Scotland. It consists of 8 clustered houses, and was occupied from roughly 3180 BC to 2500 BC. Europe's most complete Neolithic village, Skara Brae gained UNESCO World Heritage Site status as one of 4 sites making up the Heart of Neolithic Orkney. Older than Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids, it has been called the Scottish Pompeii because of its excellent preservation, discovery and early exploration. In the winter of 1850, a severe storm hit Scotland, causing widespread damage and over 200 deaths. In the Bay of Skaill, the storm stripped the earth from a large irregular knoll known as Skara Brae. When the storm cleared, local villagers found the outline of a village consisting of a number of small houses without roofs. William Watt of Skaill, the local laird, began an amateur excavation of the site, but after 4 houses were uncovered, the work was abandoned in 1868. The site remained undisturbed until 1913, when during a single weekend the site was plundered by a party with shovels who took away an unknown quantity of artifacts. In 1924, another storm swept away part of one of the houses and it was determined the site should be made secure and more seriously investigated. The job was given to University of Edinburgh's Professor Vir Gordon-Childe, who travelled to Skara Brae for the first time in mid-1927. Neolithic Lifestyle. Skara Brae's people were makers and users of grooved ware, a distinctive style of pottery that appeared in northern Scotland not long before the establishment of the village. The houses used earth sheltering, being sunk into the ground. They were sunk into mounds of pre-existing prehistoric domestic waste known as middens. The midden provided the houses with a stability and also acted as insulation against Orkney's harsh winter climate. On average, the houses measure 40 square meters in size, with a large square room containing a stone hearth used for heating and cooking. Given the number of homes, it seems likely that no more than 50 people lived in Skara Brae at any given time. It is by no means clear what material the inhabitants burned in the hearths. Gordon-Childe was sure that the fuel was peat, but a detailed analysis of vegetation patterns and trends suggests that climatic conditions conducive to the development of thick beds of peat did not develop in this part of Orkney until after Skara Brae was abandoned. Other possible fuels include driftwood and animal dung. There is evidence that dried seaweed may have been used significantly. At some sites in Orkney, investigators have found a glassy, slag-like material called kelp or cramp that may be residual burnt seaweed. The dwellings contain a number of stone-built pieces of furniture, including cupboards, dresses, seats, and storage boxes. Each dwelling was entered through a low doorway that had a stone slab or that could be closed by a bar that slid in bar holes cut in the stone, or jambs. A sophisticated drainage system was incorporated into the village's design. It included a primitive form of toilet in each dwelling. 7 of the houses have similar furniture, with the beds and dresser in the same places in each house. The dresser stands against the wall opposite the door, and was the first thing seen by anyone entering the dwelling. Each of these houses had the larger bed on the right side of the doorway and the smaller on the left. Lloyd Lane noted that this pattern accorded with Hebridean custom up to the early 20th century, suggesting that the husband's bed was the larger and the wife's was the smaller. The discovery of beads and paint pots in some of the smaller beds may support this interpretation. Additional support may come from the recognition that stone boxes lie to the left of most doorways, forcing the person entering the house to turn to the right-hand male side of the dwelling. At the front of each bed lie the stumps of stone pillars that may have supported a canopy of fir, another link with recent Hebridean style. One house, called House 8, has no storage box as a dresser. It has been divided into something resembling small cubicles. When this house was excavated, fragments of stone, bone and antler were found. It is possible that this building was used as a house to make simple tools such as bone needles or flint axes. The presence of heat-damaged volcanic rocks and what appears to be a flue support this interpretation. House 8 is distinctive in other ways as well. It is a standalone structure not surrounded by midden. Instead, it is above ground and has walls over 2 meters thick. It has a porch protecting the entrance. The site provided the earliest known record of the human flea-pulling ʻskæratons in Europe. The grooved where people who built Skara Brae were primarily pastoralists who raised cattle and sheep. Child originally believed that the inhabitants did not practice agriculture, but excavations in 1972 unearthed seed grains from a midden suggesting that barley was cultivated. Fish bones and shells are common in the middens, indicating the dwellers ate seafood. Limpet shells are common and may have been fish bait that was kept in stone boxes in the homes. The boxes were formed from thin slabs with joints carefully sealed with clay to render them waterproof. This pastoral lifestyle is in sharp contrast to some of the more exotic interpretations of the culture of the Skara Brae people. Ewan Mackey suggested that Skara Brae might be the home of a privileged theocratic class of wise men who engaged in astronomical and magical ceremonies at nearby ring of Brodgar and the standing stones of Stennis. Graham and Anna Ritchie cast doubt on this interpretation, noting that there is no archaeological evidence for this claim. Although a Neolithic low road that goes from Skara Brae passes near both these sites and ends at the chambered tomb of Maes Howe, low roads connect Neolithic ceremonial sites throughout Britain. Dating and abandonment. Originally, Child believed that the settlement dated from around 500 BC. This interpretation was coming under increasing challenge by the time new excavations in 1972–73 settled the question. Radiocarbon results obtained from samples collected during these excavations indicate that occupation of Skara Brae began about 3180 BC, with occupation continuing for about 600 years. Around 2500 BC, after the climate changed, becoming much colder and wetter, the settlement may have been abandoned by its inhabitants. There are many theories as to why the people of Skara Brae left. Particularly popular interpretations involve a major storm. Evan Haddingham combined evidence from found objects with the storm scenario to imagine a dramatic end to the settlement. As was the case at Pompeii, the inhabitants seem to have been taken by surprise and fled in haste, for many of the prized possessions, such as necklaces made from animal teeth and bone, or pins of walrus ivory, were left behind. The remains of choice meat joints were discovered in some of the beds, presumably forming part of the village's Last Supper. One woman was in such haste that her necklace broke as she squeezed through the narrow doorway of her home, scattering a stream of beads along the passageway outside as she fled the encroaching sand. Anna Ritchie strongly disagrees with catastrophic interpretations of the village's abandonment. A popular myth would have the village abandoned during a massive storm that threatened to bury it in sand instantly, but the truth is that its burial was gradual and that it had already been abandoned. For what reason, no one can tell. The site was farther from the sea than it is today, and it is possible that Skara Brae was built adjacent to a freshwater a lagoon protected by dunes. Although the visible buildings give an impression of an organic whole, it is certain that an unknown quantity of additional structures had already been lost to sea erosion before the site's rediscovery and subsequent protection by a seawall. Uncovered remains are known to exist immediately adjacent to the ancient monument in areas presently covered by fields, and others, of uncertain date, can be seen eroding out of the cliff edge a little to the south of the enclosed area. Artifacts. A number of enigmatic carved stone balls have been found at the site, and some are on display in the museum. Similar objects have been found throughout northern Scotland. The spiral ornamentation on some of these balls has been stylistically linked to objects found in the Boyne Valley in Ireland. Similar symbols have been found carved into stone lintels and bedposts. These symbols, sometimes referred to as runic writings, have been subjected to controversial translations. For example, Castleton suggested that colons found punctuating vertical and diagonal symbols may represent separations between words. Lumps of red ochre found here and at other Neolithic sites have been interpreted as evidence that body painting may have been practiced. Nodules of hematite with highly polished surfaces have been found as well. The shiny surface suggests that the nodules were used to finish leather. Other artifacts excavated on site made of animal, fish, bird, and whale bone, whale and walrus ivory, and killer whale teeth included awls, needles, knives, beads, adzes, shovels, small bowls, and, most remarkably, ivory pins up to 25 centimeters long. These pins are very similar to examples found in passage graves in the Boyne Valley. Another piece of evidence suggesting a linkage between the two cultures. Sickle scale knives were commonly used tools in Skara Brae. These consist of large flakes knocked off sandstone cobbles. Scale knives have been found throughout Orkney and Shetland. The 1972 excavations reached layers that had remained waterlogged and had preserved items that otherwise would have been destroyed. These include a twisted skein of heather, one of a very few known examples of Neolithic rope, and a wooden handle. Related sites in Orkney. A comparable, though smaller, site exists at Rinio in Rousay. Unusually, no Maes Howe-type tombs have been found on Rousay, and although there are a large number of Orkney chromaty-chambered cairns, these were built by Unstonware people. Nap of Howe on the Orkney island of Pompeii Westray is a well-preserved Neolithic farmstead, dating from 3500 BC to 3100 BC. It is similar in design to Skara Brae, but from an earlier period, and it is thought to be the oldest preserved standing building in northern Europe. There is also a site currently under excavation at Links of Knowltland on Westray that appears to have similarities to Skara Brae. World Heritage status. The Heart of Neolithic Orkney was inscribed as a World Heritage Site in December 1999. In addition to Skara Brae, the site includes Maes Howe, the Ring of Brodgar, the Standing Stones of Stennis, and other nearby sites. It is managed by Historic Scotland, whose statement of significance for the site begins. The monuments at the Heart of Neolithic Orkney and Skara Brae proclaim the triumphs of the human spirit in early ages and isolated places. They were approximately contemporary with the mastabas of the archaic period of Egypt, the brick temples of Sumeria, and the first cities of the Harappa culture in India, and a century or two earlier than the Golden Age of China. Unusually fine for their early date, and with a remarkably rich survival of evidence. These sites stand as a visible symbol of the achievements of early peoples away from the traditional centers of civilization. In popular culture, the children's novel The Boy with the Bronze Axe by Kathleen Fiedler is set during the last days of Skara Brae. A stone was unveiled in Skara Brae on the 12th of April 2008, marking the anniversary of Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin becoming the first man to orbit the Earth in 1961. In Kim Stanley Robinson's 1991 novelette A History of the 20th Century, with illustrations, the main character visits Skara Brae and other Orkney Island Neolithic sites as part of a journey he takes to gain perspective on the violent history of the 20th century. In the movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Jones is shown lecturing to his students about the site. Bibliography: Beck, Roger B. Black, Linda Krieger, Larry S. Naylor, Philip C. Shabaka, Dahia Ebo. World History, Patterns of Interaction. Evanston, Ill. McDougall Little. ISBN 0-395-87274-X. Bryson, Bill. At Home, A Short History of Private Life. London, New York. Doubleday. ISBN 978-0385-60827-5. Buckland, Paul C. Sadler, John P. Insects. In Edwards, Kevin J. Ralston, Ian B. M. Scotland After the Ice Age, Environment, Archaeology and History, 8000 BC, 81000. Edinburgh, Edinburgh University Press. ISBN 0-7486-17361-1. Bell, Aubrey. The Stone Circles of the British Isles. London, Yale University Press. ISBN 0-300-01972-6. Bell, Aubrey. Prehistoric Avebury. London, Yale University Press. ISBN 0-300-02368-5. Castleton, Rodney. The Stonehenge People. London, Routledge and Amp. Keegan Paul Limited. ISBN 0-7102-09681. Child, V. Gordon. Skara Brae, a Pictish village in Orkney. Meeting held in London. Monograph of the Royal Commission on the Ancient and Historical Monuments of Scotland. Child, V. Gordon. Simpson, W. Douglas. Illustrated History of Ancient Monuments. Volume 6, Scotland, Edinburgh. Her Majesty's Stationery Office. Child, V. Gordon. Clark, D.V. Skara Brae, Edinburgh. Her Majesty's Stationery Office. ISBN 0-11-491755-8. Clark, D.V. Sharples, Niall. Settlements and Subsistence in the 3rd Millennium BC in Renfrew, Colin. The Prehistory of Orkney BC 4000-1000 AD. Edinburgh, Edinburgh University Press. ISBN 0-85224-456-8. Darvill, Timothy. Prehistoric Britain. London, Yale University Press. ISBN 0-300-03951-4. Fenton, Alexander. Northern Isles, Orkney and Shetland. John Donald Publishers Limited. ISBN 0-85976-019-7. Fiedler, Kathleen. The Boy with the Bronze Axe. Edinburgh, Floris Books. ISBN 978-086315-488-1. Haddingham, Evan. Circles and Standing Stones. An Illustrated Exploration of the Megalith Mysteries of Early Britain. New York, Walker and Company. ISBN 0-802704638. Hawkes, Jack Hatter. The Shell Guide to British Archaeology. London, Michael Joseph. ISBN 0-7181-24480. Hedges, John W. Tomb of the Eagles, Death and Life in a Stone Age Tribe. New York, New Amsterdam. ISBN 0-941533-050. Keating, T. H. Dixon, J. H. Mid-Flandrian changes in vegetation in mainland Orkney. Neophytal, 82, 585 to 612. DOI 10.1111 J 1469-8137.1979 TB02684X. Lame, Lloyd, Orkney and Shetland, An Archaeological Guide. Newton Abbott David and Charles Limited. ISBN 0-7153-63050. Lame, Lloyd and Amp, Jennifer. The Origins of Britain. London, Paladin. ISBN 0-586-08370-7. Mackey, Ewan. Science and Society in Prehistoric Britain. London, Palgrave Macmillan. ISBN 0-312-702-450. Pigott, Stuart. Neolithic Cultures of the British Isles. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 0-521-077818. Ritchie, Graham and Amp, Anna. Scotland, Archaeology and Early History. New York, Thames and Hudson. ISBN 0-500-273-650. Ritchie, Anna. Prehistoric Orkney. London, B.T. Batsford Limited. ISBN 0-7134-75935-5.